Acá, ¿cómo te sientes ahorita? Que, what are we here to do, bro?
Oh, we're here to talk seasons counseling. I'm going to talk to the people here, and I'm honored that they invited me. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about my story and hopefully learn about their story as well.
Beautiful, bro.
Kid, I wasn't being responsible with this, with this knowledge that my dad was giving me. I just thought he was telling me, like, hey, if somebody messes with you or disrespects you, just punch them. That was the answer, violence. Like, he was enabling me to do that. But as I got older, I really started hurting people. I started getting bigger. My punches started landing harder. Injuries started becoming more serious. From I would bust people's nose or give them a bloody lip, that sort of thing. And so, I was talked to by counselors, by teachers, by my parents. My dad was telling me, hey, I know that I told you that, that if you have to fight, but it seems like I'm fighting just for any little reason, and was using it for an excuse, and so I was going about it all wrong. And really, by that time, it got out of control. I already had my little clique. I started getting a reputation of being a good fighter. And like I said, there was other people around there who had a reputation that was similar to mine, and we didn't really get along, and we wanted to sometimes find out whose cliques were stronger or better, or who was a better fighter, that sort of thing. So we would often get in fights, big brawls and stuff. And around, I want to say, my sophomore in high school, my dad had gone back to college kind of later in his years, and he ended up graduating with a sociology degree. And he couldn't find work around South Texas, so he called my uncle over here in Oregon, and my uncle was like, hey, there's a lot of work for that kind of work over here. A lot of social workers are needed. So my dad applied for a job over here with the state of Oregon and got hired. And so he told me, hey, boy, pack up your stuff. You're going to go with me to Oregon. And I was like, what are you talking about? Where's Oregon? I didn't even know what Oregon was, All I knew was my little town in Texas, I didn't really have any experience traveling or anything like that. I mean, they might have mentioned it in, history or geology or whatever, but never really knew too much about Oregon. Next thing I know, I'm moving over here. So my uncle lived in Woodburn. So when we got here, me and my dad just came on a Greyhound. We lived with my uncle for 6 months until my dad started working, saved a little bit of money, was able to rent a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in Woodburn. Very inexpensive at the time. And then later on, my mom and then my sister would eventually follow. But Woodburn, I was thinking, and I guess my family had the idea too, okay, well, Sonny is gonna get out of this bullshit over here in Texas and stop fighting, hopefully, and get his act together. But when I got to Woodburn, things weren't necessarily better here in Woodburn at the time. There was a lot of crystal meth that was going around. Well, back then they called it crank, and peanut butter crank, and all this stuff. And then not to mention gangs. So gangs were really bad back then too. The two main gangs were Hangout Boys and 18th Street, and that's pretty much that was all there in Woodburn. But that was brought by some of the OGs from Southern California that moved up here. They started recruiting just pretty much anybody, and started claiming Sureños, 18th Street or Hobbs, right? And my cousins that I was living with, they were from 18th Street, so right away they were trying to recruit me. But I was telling them, look, I don't know anything about this culture over here. I don't, I'm not really trying to get involved with the gangs that I don't really know anything about. But being so close to the gang life, eventually, like, I got caught up. You know, even though I wasn't officially a gang member, even though I didn't never get jumped in. I had cousins from 18th Street, and then I found out that I had some cousins also from Hangout Boys, and so that was even more reason for me just to kind of try to stay neutral. But I did hang out a lot more with like friends of mine that were from 18th Street, but like to try to like not be in the gang culture was like impossible back then. And so like in '95, I was visiting some friends. We were, you know, just in the car smoking weed and drinking. It was close to midnight, and then a truck pulls around the corner and faces us, and then like puts the brights on, and we're all in the car, like, you know, trying to see who it was and stuff. And then the lights went off, and next thing I know, the truck is right beside us, and a bunch of guys jump out of the truck, and they start hitting my car, you know, kicking it, punching it, hitting it with a bat, you know. My car was just rocking. My friends were telling me to just go. I wanted to see who it was, so I looked out the window, and I saw the barrel of a .357. Well, I didn't know it was .357 at the time, but later in the police reports and stuff, it came out that it was a .357. But I just saw a barrel of a gun, and like I moved at the same time the gun went off, and it hit my steering wheel and went out my windshield, and it was the loudest sound to this date. Like, it was the loudest sound I've ever heard in my entire life. It sounded like a cannon, and right away my body locked up on me. My hearing was gone. I just heard like this loud beeping sound, like a steady beep, you know? And it's like my life kind of flashed in my mind, you know. And I remember being leaned over and just trying to. My mind was kind of like rattled, you know. I was trying to find out like what had just happened, if I had been shot, because I did have blood on me. And but later, you know, it was from the glass that imploded, and you know, some of the glass was in my cheek and in my neck. And then I was finally able to kind of move around a little bit more, so I turned on my car and sped off. I went to a friend's house. They didn't know what had happened. You know, they were just freaking out. They answered the door. They're like, "Oh my God, like what happened, man?" And I was just like, you know, some guys just rolled up on us and shot, you know, and tried to kill me, you know. I had a feeling that I knew who it was, you know. I kind of got a good look at him. So the police came. I didn't tell them what I knew. I just told them that, you know, it was dark. There was no street lights. I didn't see anything. But they found a bat near my car that the guys were using to hit my car, and they showed it to me. And when I looked at the bat, I just saw that it was filled with like, you know, gang writing and nicknames and stuff on the bat. So right away, it confirmed who I thought it was, you know. And I was like, they left the bat behind, and it told me who they were, you know. But instead of letting the cops deal with it, you know, because of the way that I grew up in Texas, and I'm sure some of the way that you guys grew up is don't talk to cops. I was always told, like, bringing the cops in will only make things worse, that sort of thing. So I just wanted to handle it myself. So me and my friends would get together and after school go driving around and looking for these guys, you know, and but we could never find them, you know. We would go to their house. We would like try to ambush them. Like, we would be in the bushes, and I mean, just crazy stuff. Like, really with our mind, like, we were just gone. You know, we really just wanted. I just really wanted to hurt these guys. Like, if I killed them, oh well. You know, that's how pissed off I was. And 3 months later, you know, I heard a bunch of rumors. Oh, they went to Mexico. Oh, you know, they're hiding or whatever. So after about 3 months, I kind of like stopped looking for them. I thought they were just ran off somewhere. And then I ran into him here in Salem at Lancaster Mall. And I don't think I should get into too much detail, but I ended up hurting two of them really bad. And I was arrested. And this was when like Measure 11 was really like, they were really like pushing it really hard. I was one of the first people to get charged and convicted under Measure 11 for 2 counts of assault 2, 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon. And I went to trial. And I'm not sure if you guys know, but I'll tell you guys later, but the laws changed in Oregon, where now non-unanimous verdicts are unconstitutional. Like, just like every other state in the country, you know, it has to take all 12 jurors to find you guilty. But Oregon was doing it from like the 70s to just recently, probably like 2021. They changed the law saying that all those convictions were unconstitutional, like mine. Mine was a 10-2. So I shouldn't have been convicted, and I shouldn't have served any time. But I did. You know, I was convicted of 2 counts of assault 2 counts of unlawful use of a weapon, and the judge ran them consecutive and gave me 140 months state time. And when the sentence was handed down to me, I was like, 140 months, like, I couldn't even calculate it in my head, you know, but I knew it sounded like a long time. And then when I got back to the county and everything kind of like, you know, dawned on me, I was like, holy shit, like, I'm doing close to 12 years, you know. I called my brother, broke down on the phone, just crying in tears, you know, because I knew that I was gonna go away for a long time. And he couldn't believe it either, because at the time, like, Oregon was, you know, they were really going hard on gang members, on, you know what I'm saying, on violent offenders, you know, stuff like that. Whereas before, back in the old guidelines, you could kill somebody or manslaughter and get like, you know, 5 years, you know what I'm saying? Like, so my brother couldn't understand, like, why they giving you so much time, you know, if it's assault 2, you know? I'm like, because the laws and the mandatory minimums, you know, 60 months or 70 months each. So I had just turned 18, and back in the day it was, now it's Coffee Creek, the intake, but back in the day it was Clackamas County. That place sucked, dude. That place was a dump, you know. But yeah, I remember going through there, man, and eventually getting transferred to Eastern Oregon in Pendleton. That's where I first went. I was there for about 6 months. Then they transferred me to Ontario, to Snake River. And but my family was here in Salem, so they were constantly like calling the Dome building and calling, you know, the people in the offices at Department of Corrections and telling them why they should transfer me over here, right? A lot of people didn't have that. I was fortunate. A lot of people don't have family that do that. So I'm really grateful for my family that stayed on them, you know, and they finally transferred me over here to OSCI, where I was at OCI for like 4 years. And then I had some friends move to OSP, and people were always saying, you should go to OSP, you should go to OSP. But I didn't want to go to OSP. You know, I was fine there at OSCI, but some of my friends who went to OSP pulled some strings and talked to some captains or whatever over there. Next thing I know, I'm getting rolled up and getting sent to OSP, which I was pretty pissed off, you know. But OSP was like really messed up, man. Like very dark, you know. Like the energy there was just really intense, and it's like almost like a calm before the storm, you know, like eerie a little bit. Like things were good, things were calm, but I always had this feeling like something was gonna happen at any given moment, you know. And things didn't happen as often at OSP as they would like in other prisons. But when they did happen at OSP, it was always serious. You know, like a stabbing, a murder, somebody getting really like, you know, critically injured. You know, big riots, sit downs. You know, organized like ways to like try to get back at Department of Corrections, you know, like for example, like striking the phones. Like they would say like all these like head dudes of like all these like groups and stuff would all come together and they'd be like, hey, nobody's using the phone. Nobody's using the phone. We're gonna hold off on using the phones for if it takes days, if it takes weeks or months until we negotiate, you know, some of the things that we want from the administration, you know, like better food and better medication and, you know, or treatment, that those kind of things. And if you kind of like didn't listen and went and got on the phone, then, you know, they would send, you know, 2 or 3 dudes after you and just beat the shit out of you, and then you end up in segregation, you know, and then that was just the thing. So oftentimes I tell people like, prison, it sucks, man, because you lose your freedom, right? And then you lose like some autonomy again, like by being controlled almost by like the prisoners in there. You know what I'm saying? Like you can try, you know what I'm saying? Like do your own thing, and I did my own thing, you know. People ask me all the time how I did it because, again, I didn't really ever click up in there. I kind of walked a fine line, you know. But yeah, and I paroled March of 2008. I was 30 years old, so all my 20s were just gone, just like that, you know. It felt that way anyway, you know, going in there, 18-year-old kid, and coming out a 30-year-old man, trying to find out like my next steps, you know, was kind of a trip. But 6 months before I paroled, I filled out some FAFSA papers to get financial aid to be able to go to school. So I filled them out, applied to go to school at Chemeketa, and got accepted. So that's what I did. I got out in March, and then I enrolled for September. But in the meantime, like I took a job at McDonald's. I was working at the McDonald's in South Salem off of Cooler and Commercial. You know, grown man. Hey, you know, my PO told me, hey, you need to get a job. That's one of the most important things that I want you to do. And I said, that's fine. You know, I had a good friend of mine who was a manager there at McDonald's, and she said, hey, if you need a job, I'll hook you up. And I said, yeah, I need a job. So I started working at McDonald's as like the maintenance person, which is really hard work, man. Like I had no idea. Like, I mean, maybe the people.
¿Cómo te sientes ahorita? Que, you know, what are we here to do, bro?
Oh, we're here to talk seasons counseling. I'm going to talk to the people here, and I'm honored that they invited me. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about my story and hopefully learn about their story as well.
Beautiful, bro. All right.
And stuff, I got it a lot easier, but man, bro, I was changing out the hot grease that in the fryers. You know, I was polishing stainless steel, sweeping and mopping the floors, breaking down cardboard boxes, squeegeeing the windows. I mean, on and on, dusting. I mean, I'm just like, I was exhausted when I got home, you know. But it kept my PO off my back. My PO also wanted me to go to drug and alcohol counseling, anger management, all these programs, but I already did them in the joint. I had like a stack of certificates that I was able to show the PO and said, look, I have so many hours of this stuff, you know, and I didn't even have to do it because I was under Measure 11. Like, I didn't have to do it because I wasn't required to, and I didn't even earn good time because of it. But I did it because I wanted to better myself, you know. So I didn't have to do that. And then soon after that, they kind of loosened up on me a little bit, where I just had to call and make my payments. But yeah, man, from Chemeketa, I went 2 years, right, and I got a transfer degree. And I transferred to Oregon State. I had a friend come over, Jesus Jaime Diaz, and he was doing his master's degree, and he was interviewing people at Chemeketa and asking people like what our experiences were like as a Latino or Latina at a community college. So he interviewed me, and then he told me that, he asked me what my next steps were after Chemeketa, and I said, honestly, I just wanted to get my associates and be done. And he was like, no, I think you should transfer and apply to Oregon State. So I said, sure, why not? You know, I'll apply and see what happens. He helped me with the application process. I ended up getting accepted to Oregon State. Ended up transferring there. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started out in public health. And then I met some people in ethnic studies, which really like resonated with me. And so I switched my major to ethnic studies and found a home there. You know, really found some good people, some good mentors. The professors were awesome. They just made me feel like one of them, you know, because going to college, a university, a big university, it can be really intimidating. It can be just a lot of anxiety and stuff, you know. You try to work things out yourself, and so finding that community for me was very important. And then as I was getting my bachelor's, there was a professor there that asked me if I was going to get a graduate degree, and I was just like, I never thought about it because I was just going to get my associates and just be done and get a job and work. And she's like, no, I think you should apply for a master's degree or a graduate degree, you know. So I said, sure, why not, you know, I'll do that. And I applied and I was accepted into the program, the Master of Arts of Interdisciplinary Studies. And I was just kind of going, you know, it's important that, and I was just telling Adrian this, is that a lot of times we think that we're alone, you know, or when we're going through hard times that we have to deal with it by ourselves, or if we're going through something like the way I was going through it, you know, in education, a lot of times we go there, I was always thinking everybody knows, seems like they know, like they know what they're doing, like they have it all together, you know, like they know what they want. And me, I was like, I didn't know what I wanted, you know, I didn't really know what to major in, I didn't, any of that, you know, but I figured out later on that was all in my head, you know, because the next person was struggling just as much as I was. You know, the next person had just the same amount of questions or fears or anxieties or whatever that I did. You know, they might look on the surface like they know it all or they have all their shit together, but it was just me assuming a lot. You know, and I just kept my head down and I kept just doing the work, and I received my Master of Arts in 2019. Which was a huge accomplishment. I found out later really that master's degrees like are very rare, and even more rare when it comes to like people of color, students of color, Latinos and Latinas. So I'm very grateful that I was able to get that education, you know. Coming from where I came from, you know, South Texas, and around a bunch of drugs and violence and just negativity, to Woodburn and dealing with that, and then going to prison for as long as I did. and just being able to just keep working, man, just keep working through it, but I think back, and I was never alone. I was never alone, I always did it with somebody, so, I like to say sometimes, oh man, I would like to take the credit, but it was never me, it was always like family, My mom visited me, man, like regularly the entire 12 years I was away, She would be there like every week in the visiting room. We sit down and we eat snacks and drink soda and and my nieces would go visit me. They were like this tall, and when I paroled, they were adults. But all that, man, was very, very helpful to me, and then in school, my mentors and other classmates, and always having those people mention hey, you should go to, you should get your bachelor's. Hey, you should get your master's, because my confidence back then wasn't very high. I was just. It took people outside of me to look at me and tell me hey, I see potential in you. You can do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I couldn't think of it for myself at the time. So I'm really grateful that these people were able to see that. And I had a professor tell me he would always say you're not garbage. You're not caca. He would say, you're worth something. You have value. You know what I mean? And I think it was important for him to say that, because life is hard, man. This world is tough, and I think we self-isolate a lot as a society, and we try to do things on our own, and that's harmful, man. It's harmful, and then even more so with COVID and things like that, people are just very antisocial, and me included. You know what I'm saying? I mean, me included. My social circle changed when I stopped drinking. I drank most of my life, mainly a social drinker, on the weekends, and I would party with friends at different house parties, and I would drink beer, we drink hard liquor, tequila, whatever, right? And I get pretty hammered, and then hungover, and then start my work week. I was one of those kind of drinkers. But 4 years ago, I got a DUI. It was I was leaving my sister's house after Thanksgiving dinner, and I had a few drinks. I wasn't drunk, but I was buzzing, and I was driving, and I didn't even get pulled over for swerving or anything. I got pulled over for speeding. I was hauling ass. I wanted to get home, I wanted to get home. I wanted to just relax, and so I was on Portland Road, and I was driving, and the cop pulled me over for speeding, and then he said he smelled alcohol in my breath, and he asked me if I had been drinking, and I told him, yeah, I've been drinking a little bit. And he said, well, step out your truck, please. I stepped out. He gave me the test. I thought I did fine, but he thought otherwise, and arrested me, and gave me a DUI. Well, I ended up applying for a diversion, and as long as I stayed out of trouble for a year, and I had this machine in my truck where I had to blow into. If I was successful, then the DUI would drop off my record. I spent a lot of money hiring a lawyer for that, where I probably could have just did it myself, but I spent thousands of dollars because I wanted to make sure that I did the right thing, that this thing was really going to come off my record if I did what I was asked. So yeah, that DUI really changed my life, financially, and then also socially, because I had to go a year without drinking. So after that year, I could have drank. But after so long, I was like, well, why am I gonna drink? You know, if I know that I can go without drinking, I did it for a year. Why go back and drink? You know. And then I also realized like how much money I was saving. You know, every weekend like partying, I would spend a lot of money because I would like go to the grocery store. I would buy like food to take to the party. And then I would take like an 18-pack or something to the party, you know, and then we'd be drinking or whatever, partying and eating, and then we'll go make another beer run, you know. So like doing that like every weekend, it was nice. Another reason why I didn't start drinking right away was because I have a son who just turned 5 years old, and he was very little when I got my DUI, and so I just figured, you know, I want to be sober to enjoy like all the experiences with him, you know, like every moment. I want to be there for him, and I want him to have good memories of me. I don't want him to remember me drinking. I don't want him to remember me being hungover and not wanting to play with him because I'm hungover and spent like half of the day or the next 2 days in bed, you know, or just lounging around and not doing anything, you know, until I go to work again. Like that wouldn't be cool, you know. That wouldn't be fair to him, you know what I'm saying? And I also want to show him a different way, because my dad drank when I was a kid and smoked, and my brothers did, my cousins did, my uncles did, everybody and their mama did, you know. So I don't know, and it hasn't been easy, you know. Like I said, I'm on like my 4th year without drinking, and I didn't even have to like tell my friends to stop. Like they don't even want to hang out with me no more, you know. Like everybody just kind of fell off little by little, and nobody reaches out to me no more. Man, I told my brother this, and my brother was like, dude, you used to know the whole world, you know, like you used to be like, you know, like the life of the party and stuff, you know. And I'm like, yeah, like I don't even have any friends no more, you know, like nobody wants to hang out with me because they drink, and that's what was keeping us together, was drinking, you know. And but I still hang out with some people sometimes, you know. I'll go out and but now I go for the food, you know. Now I don't go to go drink and get fucked up. I go for the food, you know. That's one of the first things I go to, like the dishes, because everybody always cooks something really good, but nobody eats until everybody's like shit-faced, and then they're like enjoying it afterwards. They don't even remember like really like enjoying it, you know. So one of the first things I do is get there, get me a nice plate of, you know, everything, and drink my water or coffee or soda, you know, some kind of substitute, you know what I'm saying? And everybody else is drinking whatever. Everybody else, it's kind of cool early on, but as it gets later in the night, then that's my cue, and that's when I leave, you know. Because after like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I know that they're all going to be on a different, you know, level than I am, and there's really nothing I'm not going to be able to talk to them about anything really, you know. So I leave, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of been a significant change in my life, you know, but I'm okay with it, you know what I'm saying? If I had to lose some people, some friends, so be it, you know. I have my son. He's the most important thing to me in my world, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, I really don't know, like, your guys' situation and stuff. It's scary a lot of times, like, getting out of your comfort zone. It's scary to try new things sometimes, you know. It's scary to lose people, not know what's going to happen next in your life, that uncertainty and stuff, you know. But I'm learning that regardless, I'm gonna be okay, you know. I'm gonna live. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna survive, you know. And just adapt and just go with the flow, you know. Everybody has their own situation. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own, which our stories are powerful, you know. I hope one day that I'm able to talk with you guys and to hear your guys' story, you know. And we're all going through different things, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times, you know, I didn't even think about, like, for example, like mental health or mental illness. I take it for granted so much that I ran into an old friend, and she's young, you know, and she had a mental breakdown, you know, a couple years ago, and she hasn't really like recovered. You know what I'm saying? So I pray for her. It makes me realize that I'm grateful that I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? That I'm able to think clearly. I'm able to talk. I'm able to reason. You know, because a lot of that stuff, people are going through it, man. You know, and it also makes me step back and think like, man, I can't be too quick to assume, right? Or be too quick to judge. You know, when really I don't know anything about anybody else. You know, none of us do. So I think it's important to right away, like, you know, an example is like driving and getting road rage. You know what I'm saying? Quick to assume like, oh, that person did it on purpose. You know, not really thinking, hey, man, maybe they're schizophrenic. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they got something going on in their mind. Maybe they're elderly. You know, maybe they didn't see you. It was just just as simple as that, you know. But ourselves, the way we react to situations, is what adds, you know, fuel to the fire a lot of the times, you know, because we get in our own heads. You know what I'm saying? So I'm practicing that, you know, just trying to be aware of like my actions, the way I react, and that's all I can do, you know. And I just try to be a better version of myself every day. That's what I strive for, to be a better version of myself than what I was yesterday, and that means in every aspect of my life, you know, a son, a father, a brother, a friend, a learner, you know, just whatever I can do, you know, that's all I can do, you know. But do you guys have any questions for me?
I got a question about when you got the time.
Yeah.
How do you, after you came out, how did you feel as far as, was that meant to be, or you felt like you were judged incorrectly?
Well, now that this law change came about, I'm actually appealing my case right now to see if they can take it off my record, and if they can give me any kind of payment, then, you know, that would be better, you know, because when somebody goes to prison like I did unconstitutionally, that's not right. You know, they got to make it right. You know, yeah, I did whatever they said I did, but that's beside the fact. You know, 12 people should have been 12-0 verdict. You know, and not 10-2. So I feel like I was cheated a little bit, yeah, but I also feel like if I wouldn't have maybe gone through what I went through, then I wouldn't have ended up like accomplishing so much when I got out, you know, because when I got out, I kind of had like a chip on my shoulder, you know, and I wanted to get back at Department of Corrections. I wanted to get back at the state, you know, and but I couldn't resort to violence anymore, you know. So I did it with my mind. I said, you know what? They wanted prison to break me, and I truly believe that. They wanted to send me away for a long time, and they wanted it to break me, and for me to just be in a repetitive cycle, going in and out, you know. And if I let them do that, then I would let them win. But my spirit was telling me that I had to do something different and show them that I can be successful, and I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna let prison take that from me, you know. And then I told myself too, this is like really, I guess, made sense to me, but maybe not might make sense to other people. But I said, if I could do 12 years in prison, I could do 12 years of higher education. You know what I'm saying? like, prison was fucking hard, dude. Like, it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, you know? And so I said, they had me in prison for so long that when I got out, I kept justifying myself. Well, I'm just gonna keep going to school. I'm gonna keep going to school, you know? And I want to get as much education as I did when I went to prison, you know? And then I know, like, the DAs and the judges that were on my case and stuff like that, like, if they were to see me now, they wouldn't like it, you know? I don't think so. But it's one more thing that I can just rub in their face, you know? Like, they wanted me to be done, to be finished, you know? But I didn't let that happen. Side effects of prison, I'm still dealing with them today, you know? Anxiety, I was wondering about this, you know, when they say people have a lot of stress, they look into their brains and they can actually see the stress, like holes in people's brains, you know, from like trauma, mental trauma. I wonder what mine looks like, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing 12 years in prison, bro, and then doing so much time in segregation. You know, I didn't even do that much time in seg, but like, I've had friends who did like 5 years straight in the hole, in IMU. So I wonder, like, what their brains look like, you know what I'm saying? And yet, like, when we parole, they just want us to come out here and just be successful. Like, hey, we just fucked you all up in the head, and but we want you to get out and you don't come back. Like, what, really, you know? Nobody really, like, give me any kind of, like, mental health, like, support. You know what I'm saying? Like, even to this day, like, it's just crazy, bro. It's crazy. I mean, we're traumatized anyways from the way we grew up, you know, and just being in this kind of a society, like, in general. You know, we're all dealing with our own issues, and then put on top of that, like, this stuff, you know. Not to mention, man, I lost my dad when I was in prison. My mom had, like, 2 heart attacks. She had a quadruple bypass. You know, we have deaths in the family, you know what I'm saying? I lost 2 sisters, and so, I mean, how much can a person take, right? How much can you take? But we're very resilient. We're very resilient, you know, and if I can just tell you guys, man, and you girls, like, I don't know what you're going through, and it might seem like it's the end of the world, you know, but it's not, man. It's not. It's not. And remember that you are valuable. Remember that you're not garbage. Remember that you have a purpose in life, and people who love you, and people who depend on you. And mental illness is okay. It's not it's a stigma, but if you need some support, reach out, man. We can't do it by ourselves. We cannot do it by ourselves. I reached out to a good friend of mine when I went through a hardship recently, because I couldn't do it by myself. I was so desperate. And this guy took me in, man, and basically, like, helped me mend, you know? Like, I was broken, like, shattered in pieces, you know? And I couldn't go home. Like, I was going through it really rough, you know, and he let me crash on his couch. He fed me. I didn't even feel like eating. I didn't even have an appetite, but he would cook for me, fed me, and just was there, man, listening and talking to me and sharing his experiences. And it was, I owe that guy everything, man, you know, because I almost was on the brink of, like, giving up, you know. And he was just reminding me of all the things that I've done, all the things that I've been through. He reminded me who I was. He reminded me, he took me back, you know. And he goes, no, man, you know, you face your problems head on, you deal with them, and you hold yourself with integrity, with honor, with respect, and you will see that you will overcome, you know. And I did. You know, I'm still kind of going through some heartache and stuff, you know. But I would have been in a lot rougher shape. I wouldn't even have been here speaking to you guys, honestly.
I want to interject something. I met this guy like 20 something years ago,
Yeah, that's right.
and so part of why I'm doing the documentary is to show others too that no matter what you're going through, that you gotta find different things that are in your life to get you to turn the other way. You know, turn the other way. Whatever you're going through, you know, like Sonny was saying, and sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's expression, sometimes it's small group like this, and sometimes we wish we would have had something. Strong family support, someone there for us. But something that I loved about this guy too, in the most respectful way, is that he turned to writing and music. Can you share that a little bit? You know, about journaling or writing, or you know, or opening up, because sometimes that's the hardest part. We don't want to open up, you know, and part of the reason where I met him was that I wanted to make sure I knew where I had been, and I knew that there was a fine line sometimes that we cross, or that we're about to cross, or that we have already crossed, and we don't know how to create a new line. Like sometimes it's boundaries. But you want to share maybe something, you know, what inspired you to start writing music?
Yeah, but real quick, Adrian, this guy was a volunteer, and he used to go into OSP with other people, you know, in his group. And sometimes we don't realize like the power of people who volunteer, you know, who go there, because it showed me, like, because when I was in prison, I felt like, besides my family and stuff, but like society in general, I felt like invisible. I felt misunderstood, you know. I felt like society hated me for what I did, you know. But this guy and the group that he was with, Mashika Tiawi, or was it a different one? Yeah, they would come in and they would dance, man. They would do an Aztec dance, you know, ritual, and burn copal and do the whole ceremony. And it was very impactful. It was beautiful. It was inspiring. And they let me know that they loved me in a way, you know. They didn't directly tell me, but I knew that they had some kind of love for me, because why else would they be there? They're doing this out of their own time and on their own dime, you know. So that means that there's something there, you know. And these people like Adrian, man, they're so useful, man. They're just so many volunteers that would go there and just spend time with us was amazing and incredible. And I don't think that they even know like how much of a difference they made in my life, you know. So I never got a chance to really tell them, you know. But Adrian, he does several things, you know. This guy dances. He's an entrepreneur. He reaches out and does a lot of work in the community, a lot of fundraising, that sort of thing. Puts on big events. But yeah, man, he's just a good brother, you know. And so I'm glad that he's here as well. And he's been kind of like getting me to open up a little bit more. So about my music, I'll end with that. I told you that my rap name is Sonny Gunnz. I got that nickname in prison. I started writing when I was in prison, like when I was at OSCI. A good friend of mine, Tobias, he taught me how to rap, and he like literally showed me how to write music. Like he told me what bars were, how many bars were in a verse, how many bars were in a hook, how to put words together, you know, how to wordplay, that sort of thing. And I just, over the years of being locked up, I mean, that's what we did. You know, we would go out to the yard and we would like have rap battles and write music together, write songs. When I got to OSP, they had a music studio up there. And we were able to, me and like several of my friends were able to put a group together called the Brown Recluse. And we got the whole album from in the walls, man. We went, we recorded it, we mixed and mastered it, and we put it out. So that was pretty cool to be able to make music inside and have it come out here, you know. When I paroled, I got together with a good friend of mine, called him Brown Caesar. He recorded my whole album for free, bro. I mean, what else can I want, you know? Very grateful to that brother there. I don't even think he knows like how grateful I am. I should definitely let him know. But he did the graphics, the art of my album. He let me do studio time, mix and mastered my music, put it out on all digital platforms. I mean, so on and so forth. I didn't write music to blow up, you know, to get famous. I did it because that's something that kept me grounded in prison. It's something that I've always had in my life. I always grew up listening to hip hop, you know, Chicano rap, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed doing that. And then recently, I came out with another album with a couple friends of mine called "Son of a Migrant," and we just released that like 2020. And very, very good to me. I'm really proud of that album. And since this brother reached out to me, was talking to me about a song that I did for my dad, the guy who taught me how to rap reached out to me. He saw that interview. He says, "Hey, I saw that interview," and so now me and him are reconnecting and making a song together, like, you know, as we speak. So I think that's pretty cool. You know, like it's going in full circle. The guy who taught me how to rap, we're finally making a song together, you know, which is pretty cool.
Can you do that song, man, that you're talking about? Can you do that? Just get in the spirit of what that song did for you in terms of your change and everything like that. Can you share that here?
Well, I don't think you were here when Pedro said.
No. He can't talk about that. That song talks a little bit about God. You know, hopefully it doesn't offend anyone. You know, but it just in the spirit of just sharing, in the spirit of there's something that sometimes songs has something to do. You can take even the word God, but spirit, whatever you believe in, you know, or even just, you know, if it's your own spirit, that sometimes no one teaches us this. You see what I'm saying? No one teaches us how to believe in something other than ourselves. Or if you don't believe anything other than yourself, then believe in yourself. Shit. You know what I'm saying? That ought to be something, you know, so maybe in that spirit, you know.
Yeah, well, and I understand where Pedro's coming from. I never really like to push religion on anybody or my beliefs. And me, myself, I've struggled with my beliefs, you know. In prison, I was really close with the Native Americans in there. And so oftentimes I would go to the sweat ceremonies. I would smoke the tobacco pipe with them. I would go to powwows, and I made my own regalia and grass dance. And so, you know, creator, you know, grandfather, great spirit, whatever it is, you know, different religion, you know, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever it is, you know, it's a beautiful thing. If it's positive, if it's taken to do positive, then it's a beautiful thing, you know. I grew up, I was actually baptized Catholic, but like when I was 8 years old, I converted into Christianity. But then I had all these like, I'm still like, even today, like I don't go to church very much, but I am a spiritual person, you know. And when I wrote this song, I was in the hole at Columbia River, and I wrote it on behalf of my dad. You know, I told you my dad passed away. So I'll say a hook. I think I'll sing a verse, and then I think that'll do it. You guys are okay with that? You guys cool with that? Okay. It goes, God, can you hear me? Pray at night. Can you hold me and tell me everything's all right? God, can you catch my tears as they fall? Can you make sure I'm ready when you make your call? God, can you hear me pray at night? Can you hold me and tell me everything's all right? God, can you catch my tears as they fall? Can you make sure I'm ready when you make your call? God, can you hear me? They say that you're near me. I know it ain't my prayers because I say them so clearly. My eyes get teary when there's no one around. When it's quiet, I can hear my heart beat when it pounds. No one to talk to. So I look to the clouds, hope my dad smiles back. I know I'm making them proud. I'm like, look at me now. Then the sky goes dark. It feels like my insides are ripping apart. Only God knows I got a good heart. Lord, forgive me for my sins. I've been doomed from the start. You blessed me with this art. For that, I'm grateful. I pray one day my heart can stop being hateful. It's about being faithful. I know. I try. I don't like to admit it, but even gangsters cry. The next time I open my eyes, send me a blessing. The next time I look to the sky, answer this question. God, can you hear me pray at night? Can you hold me and tell me everything's all right? God, can you catch my tears as they fall? Can you make sure I'm ready when you make your call? God, can you hear me pray at night? Can you hold me and tell me everything's all right? God, can you catch my tears as they fall? Can you make sure I'm ready when you make your call? And I'll just leave it with that. There's a couple of more verses to that song. You can actually look up my album on YouTube or my albums. But that album has 19 songs on it. The second album has 10 songs on it or something. And for a while I stopped making music, you know. This brother right here though, he has a way of reminding me, you know, because I'm an older guy, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, I'm not a kid no more. I started writing when I was a kid, you know. Hip hop is for kids, you know, I think. But it's you know, once you're an artist or a creator of something, you can always do that, you know, no matter what. Age really shouldn't matter, you know, as long as I can keep writing and expressing myself. And so yeah, even though he's right. So thank you, Adrian, for reminding me of that, you know. So and because of that, like I said, I'm working on some new music right now as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. Was there any more questions?